Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hey,
to Monday Live with Alan and Greg and our guest, Angelia from Read and Reread, coming back for 3 times on this show.
woo!
Woohoo!
Angelia.
Hey,
Hey,
Ha-
and if you're in the show, drop us a comment so we know who's there. Oh, we got some people showing up already, and I know all three of them.
Uh,
right when the camera went on, I realized the closet's open behind me. So I'm going to turn around and close it.
Hey, Lee, you are here and you're on time.
hey, Lee.
Hey, Pat,
Pat,
and we got
Hello, Pat.
Brian from Bookish.
hey, Brian.
3 people I know well. All right. So how's
Wonderful.
before we get talking about books, because I always say is like I've gotten complaints that we start the show and saying what books we've been reading, and people get upset because they're late.
And then
We've missed all the book talk or the what we've
But
been
you
reading.
snooze, you lose.
I know, but not everyone can be on time.
Yeah, right.
Hello, Hannah.
Anna.
Hey, Hannah.
Okay, so just a little bit of a chit chat before we get started on the books. How's everyone doing tonight? Anything interesting going on besides books? No.
I went to the grocery store.
I did too. I went to the Asian market today to get a couple of cooking supplies.
Cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just went out to. I was craving pork chops all weekend. Like me and my dad, we were on like a wavelength where we end up eating the same thing on the same day without trying. And so he had some pork chops that looked good on Saturday, so I thought I'd go get some.
That's pretty cool.
To the bank, get a roll of quarters for my laundry. But I'm amazed how our winter is over. We had like 3 days of winter in Portland this year. Just if it's over, I don't know. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's about all we get around here, but it's kind of supposed to be like that.
Yeah, Tejas. But
Right.
last year it was like icy. I'm in the suburbs kind of, so they don't even plow our street till a week later.
Oh,
So people were skiing on the street. And it lasted for about a week or two.
Oh, wow. No, I only saw snow because I went to South Carolina for a couple of weeks, and that's where it snowed there, which was not usual for there either. But so I actually did see snow this winter, but here it's like 75, 80 again now. So
we've had some snow down in Virginia, not a huge amount, but I've shoveled the driveway a couple times.
Yeah, we didn't get anything like that.
Let me tell you, like you hit 60 and you're having to shovel snow, you feel it in your shoulders, and I'm going,
oh, yeah.
Not fun. Hey, Gareth, how you doing?
Hey, Gareth.
Hey, Gareth.
Constance is here.
Hey, Constance.
Lee's saying hi to Hannah. Jess, Book Girl TV. Hello, Jess.
Yeah.
Yep, all my rowdy friends are here. So Constance says democracy is dead here.
Okay,
that's something, right? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just hand Europe over to Putin. That's what.
Yeah, that interview with Zelensky, really, I saw it live. I had like TV muted, and I saw it come up, and I unmuted it, and I had to turn it off. It really affected me, Almost.
It was painful. I was so humiliated on Zelensky's behalf. I mean, I was so embarrassed by the U.S. I mean, I was, and then I saw the skit on SNL where they like replay the scene, and it was like it wasn't any more ridiculous than the actual scene. It wasn't even. I mean, I don't know.
Gareth mentioned. I said, I don't see how Trump could get any viler or lower than he's getting now. It's just like
I always think that, and then he finds a new depth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really sad by that.
Yeah, I don't think I can watch that State of the Union address either, because it'll just the mere beginning of his voice, it just like seizes up my neck when I hear him start to speak. Like I have to take whatever he's been doing or saying in little snippets, or else it just, I don't know, blows me up.
I feel the same way. I can barely look at him in his mouth when he talks.
Oh yes.
The way he says our country, I can't stand it. Our country, I can't stand it.
His ugliness just pervades right out of his pores.
Mm-hmm.
He can't even blend his makeup.
No, it's bad. And I wouldn't make fun of somebody's appearance if they were a decent person, but I feel like all bets are off as far as he's concerned.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. It's like he showed his true colors in 2016 when he was waving his hands and making fun of someone with disabilities. I mean,
right.
I'm sorry. You don't laugh at someone who's handicapped.
No, that was the beginning of, I guess, people just have no limits and don't care, because that was the first thing where people thought, and in that interview where he was saying about grabbing women by the pussy, and people were like, oh, that's it, he's sunk. And then he just keeps on going. Like all the things that used to derail candidates have no bearing.
I know, and all the Bible Belt Christians all love him too. That's what really gets me. And
he is almost certainly the least religious president we've ever had.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, it makes people who don't have religion look bad, because he says, you don't have any morals or any standard, and we do.
He's been interviewed by like Bible thumpers and that, and he goes, I can't remember exactly. It's not really important, but he knows nothing about the Bible. He says, no, I don't think I've really done anything wrong to be forgiven about. And, all Christians are sinners, and, but I don't think I've really done anything. I need to.
Okay. Well, you know something? I want to stop talking about that asshat. And let's talk about some books and some good things and get on. So hello, William.
Hey, William.
Say hi to people. Yeah. Hannah, we all agree with you. Okay. So Angelia, as the guest, you can talk about some books you currently read or are reading and open up the conversation.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on again. And so what I'm currently reading, I have it kind of sitting around over here. I am reading We Do Not Part by Han King.
Oh, okay.
And I'm reading this for the Reading the Globe project that Roz and Katja are hosting. It's a different international book every month. Mm-hmm. And so this is my first time reading this author, but I've been wanting to read her for a while, and then now she won the Nobel Prize for fiction. So I guess I'm about halfway through. It's really good. Beautiful writing. I don't want to say too much about it because the conversation hasn't really started very much in the group, but I'm really glad that I'm reading it. And then I'm also reading Barchester Towers. Anthony
I love
Trollope.
that book.
And I'm loving this. I've read The Warden a couple months ago, and so I'm kind of like on a real slow roll through the series. So I guess I'm about not quite halfway through this, which is just wonderful. But it's a really weird juxtaposition with those two books.
And then I've got Anthony Trollope.
Anthony Trollope. Yeah. He's not a serious author, I don't think, but he's just delightful to read. It's just
right. And I for some reason, he works for me better than Dickens. I'm kind of hit and miss with Dickens. Sometimes I've loved some of it, and some of it I just got bogged down in DNF. But somehow his style just works better for me. Yeah. I don't know. Dickens can be a lot of work for me.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about this today about how the way Trollope, he puts in lots of characters, but he takes time and introduces each one or each family separately, gives the whole rundown, their backstory, everything before, and then he puts them into play with the rest of the people instead of just throwing in 50 new people all at once in every chapter. So it's easier to process.
I've got a Trollope book on my shelf. I've never read it. I think it was something about a wife.
I don't know.
He wrote a lot.
Yeah, he's got a ton.
I read some criticism like he could write 250 words every 15 minutes of a novel.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Which for a novelist is an extraordinarily high pace.
Yeah, that's like a couple of pages.
Hemingway shot for 500 a day.
500 words?
A day. That's what he'd shoot for.
Trollope was doing 1,000. What would be 1,000 words an hour? So
wow, yeah.
That's why he has so many good long books.
Yeah, and then Joyce would try to get like 8 to 10 words a day, but then he spend the other half of the day putting them in order.
I don't know. Well, I read The Way We Live Now, which is like a standalone, and then I'm reading this series now. So that's as far as I've gotten with Trollope, but I really like him. And then I'm reading my plays for my project, the 2 plays this month. So,
I'm in that group. I'm pretty silent in it, though.
Are you chilling in the background?
Yeah, I am. Are you just reading you're not reading new plays, but just is there any criteria for them?
Yeah, well, so it's called Endless Drama, and it's on Discord if anybody wants to jump in there. But it's 2 plays a month, and it's 20th and 21st century plays. So it's not. I mean, some of them are rereads, and some of them I've never read. It's just basically because I love to read plays, but I had fallen way out of the habit and hadn't really done it for years. But I used to read them in school and everything. So I was just reviving that, but then adding in ones that I missed along the way or that had come out in the 21st century. So there's a lot of these are like Pulitzer winners and stuff like that. So like the 2 this month are more recent, and I hadn't read them, so I'm working on these 2 right now.
All right.
And pretty interesting, especially one of them's definitely about censorship and things being banned and stuff like that. So
yeah,
very timely for us.
Yeah,
I like Tennessee Williams and Eugene O'Neill and Shepard a lot, especially Tennessee Williams. I'd love to do a group thing on Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and Glass Menagerie. Like we were doing Chekhov last year.
Yeah, we were going to do more plays, and it sort of just fizzled out.
I'd do a Tennessee Williams study. I read it. What did I reread? Streetcar. I read that a few months ago at the band book club I'm in at the public library. Did Streetcar. So that happened before this project started. So then I didn't put Tennessee Williams in because I just read one of his plays. But
Stella.
Yeah,
I got a courtyard. I'm on the 3rd floor, and the courtyard is right out my window. And in summertime, we had a guy doing the Stella routine. Poor guy.
Could do Stella. You could do Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. No, I mean he was yelling for a girl. He's all drunk. He'd go,
All right.
I'm getting your rides here. I'm about to
You live in an interesting area, Alan. I live in a boring retirement community.
Yeah. Greg lives in the gated community.
Okay.
It's
they
actually,
don't use
Alan,
the gate.
we voted not to put the gate in.
Oh, that's interesting.
What happened is you have these arms that go up and down the gates, and it was supposed to be in when the community opened, but it wasn't ready yet. And it took them about 2 years to get it ready. And then they gave us the bill of how much maintenance it would cost.
Oh.
And it would cost $100,000 a year.
Oh.
So that's going to be in your HOA.
And it'd be HOA fees. And we looked at it, at least the community voted, and we decided, these gates are not going to stop any thieves that want in.
No, they just drive around them.
And we decided we don't want the money. But there are a few people who really feel comforted when they see a gate and an arm, but it doesn't do anything.
Well, no, you just, and I mean, you just drive in right behind somebody, and then you're in.
I did.
It'd be
I
different
used to live in a
if it was-
gated community, and we had
That's
like
what.
we
Yeah.
used to have an in gate and an out gate, you know.
Right.
And I remember going out the out gate, and there's a woman at the in gate, and she was trying to get in, and she saw me pulling out, and she was gonna pull in to the out gate, and I stopped. I just went, and she just gave me this dirty look. I mean, she could have lived there and forgotten her code, or her opener was broken, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your, like, are you going back to Kang? You're doing an international reading group.
Yes, it is. Ross from Scally
Oh,
Dandling
no,
about
Roz,
the book,
yeah.
and Katja from Page Turners with Katja. They're doing it's called Reading the Globe, and it's on Katja's Discord.
Okay.
And so I think, let's see, January was Clean by Alia. Can't remember the rest of her name. It was a Chilean author. And then I didn't do the February one. It was a David Diop book. And then now it's Hong Kong. So it's a different one every month. And it's really interesting selections.
Because just on my own, I told myself I want to read at least 20 different nationalities on this year. So I have a database where I log in all my books that I read, and database log, I have a splash screen that shows me all my statistics of what I've been reading. So I put nationalities, and I used to be a computer programmer, so this is not anything too difficult for me, but it tells me how many books from each nation I've read and what percentage it is. So I can look at the United States, and I want to keep that under 50% this year.
Yes. That's a great goal.
And right now, it got up to 51 at one point, but now I'm down it's like 37%.
Oh.
And so
you need to read around, get your stats down.
But see, yeah. It's changing the way I read a bit, because there's a couple books I want to read. No, he's from the United States, and that's going to bump up that score. Yeah. So I got to find an author from another country. Now the only problem is I can really only read English fluently.
Right, it has to be in translation.
If I picked up a Spanish children's book like Jorge El Terrible or whatever, I can get through about 60% of that in Spanish, but it's a struggle.
And that's my Spanish level is picture book.
But yeah,
like sign at the grocery store. Like I can figure that out, but I could not read a novel.
It's really hard, and I've actually started trying to teach myself French. So now
fun.
It's on Duolingo, so it's not really learning French. You just I'll never get fluent on Duolingo, but
I know a lot of Spanish swear words.
I've restarted Spanish a million times. I mean, I took it in high school and college, but like over the years, I've gone to in-person classes, and then during the 2020 when we were all stuck at home, I Duolingo'd it for a while, but I just never really. And I live in a place that's highly Spanish speaking, but when someone's fluent, it just goes too fast anyway.
Because I have housekeepers who are Spanish, and I greet them when they come in. I go, "Buenos dias, cómo están?" And then they start speaking Spanish to me.
Right, and then you're like, "No,
I'm just being polite. That's all I can do is be polite."
Trivia. Yeah, don't be a pendejo.
So Lee has a question. May I ask something about a book, please? I need all of you to help me, please. I'm reading The House of Beckham by Tom Bauer. I'm just not understanding the entire thing. Help, please. I don't even know what book that is.
Me neither. Angelia?
I haven't read that. I can't help.
Do we even know what book that is?
I'm trying to it's like really teeny tiny on my phone. I should have tried to make the thing work on the iPad. The House of Beckham by Tom Bauer. No, I'm lost. I'm gonna look it up on the iPad while we're talking.
Sorry, Lee. He struck out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm House supposed to be.
Brian has probably helped the trollop. Unlike Hemingway, his hobby wasn't drinking.
house. Look,
Anyone else listening to Steve's reading of Mr. Scarborough's family? He's
The
up to
House of
chapter 3.
Beckham, Money, Sex, and Power. Oh, it's about the Beckhams, like David and Victoria Beckham.
Oh, the soccer player, no, football player.
Yeah.
Soccer
Wait,
player.
so what was the
Football.
question again?
Um,
That he didn't understand it?
I'm just not understanding maybe she's not understanding the British football soccer thing. I don't know. She'd have to explain a little more in the comments.
Have to expound on that, Lee.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't understand it either.
I'll watch out some rugby because Ireland's in the finals. That's where American football came from.
So William's reading The Last Man by Mary Shelley.
Hmm.
I've only read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Me too. Because every time I keep rereading it because it's so good, and
Yeah.
I never branch out.
I've only read her husband's stuff.
Gotta say, hey, Keju.
Oh, hey. Yeah, she gave us a tip last week.
She did.
I missed it last week.
People saying hi to each other. Angelia, did you mean a streetcar named Desire?
What did I say? Streetcar named Desire.
Yeah.
I was too casual. A streetcar named Desire.
Yeah.
Kat is back. She was our guest last week.
Oh, hey, Kat.
I have Kat's book in my car ready to mail. I just haven't gone to the post office yet. And Alan, I've got your 2 books ready to mail once I finally get out to the post office.
Great, thanks. I appreciate that.
Jess, I live in boring Long Island, Jess, Long Island has to be more exciting than Fredericksburg, Virginia.
I've lived in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and it was kind of boring. But I was in high school, so in college. So of course I thought that was boring, and I needed to go to an exciting city.
You didn't like to go to all the Civil War museums and
No.
not much? That's
Well, I did go to some of the famous houses and stuff like that, like Chatham Manor, that kind of stuff that's there.
Yeah.
And I had a very brief, unsuccessful job waiting tables at a historic inn in Fredericksburg.
Did you have to dress up?
Yeah, I had to dress up with a little mop cap and little dress, and the cook was nuts and would throw things at us, out of the kitchen, and yeah. So
we saw. Damn, now I'm going to forget his name. Who's the Civil War president? Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis.
We saw his house.
Down in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. Oh, that okay. Yeah, I did. I lived in
Battle sites. We saw a few.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we talked about this maybe the first time I came on, because I lived in Fredericksburg and I lived in Richmond at different times.
Yeah, once you said you lived in Fredericksburg, it just pops in my head. Oh yeah, you kind of lived down in my neighborhood for a while.
I did live there before I lived in Texas.
So James is here. Hello, James. Quite and Curious Volume.
Hi, James.
Not sure. He seems to have a lot of people who tell the truth. I think Lee's talking about the Bauer book. People saying hi to each other. Ginger saying hi. Constance chilling with the book, trying to decide what to cook. They're just talking to each other. Gareth loved the idea of reading the Globe idea. It's interesting because you get vastly different books, especially when you get into the books translated from some of the Asian languages. You get vastly different.
Yeah, Ross has been doing that since she started too.
Right.
That's what scalability means, I believe.
I just ordered a book that it's on the international booker list, but I had it in my TBR, and then it came up on that list, and I read some more about it, and I got really intrigued, but I had to order it. Well, I didn't have to order it from Blackwell's. It's out in the US, but I really liked the UK cover so much better, so I ordered it from there.
What book is this again?
It's Under the Eye of the Big Bird.
Under the Eye of the Big Bird. Okay.
It's Japanese, and I can't remember the name of the author, but she has a book that's coming up in this global thing later in the year, a different book. But this one, it's kind of a science fiction dystopian kind of. So that I'm always a sucker for that. So I ordered that, and I don't know, it'll get here when it gets here. But
All right.
I don't really care about reading in the time frameworks of these prizes. I just get ideas from the lists and kind of do my own thing.
Well, did you want to show your shirt? Speaking of,
yeah.
And,
my shirt. Okay, let me back it up here. We're gonna back it way up. Back it way up. Can you see it?
Yeah, Octavia Butler tried to tell us.
She tried.
And what book is that from?
Well, this isn't from. I mean, she tried to tell us in a few different books, I think, but she really tried to tell us in Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents. Warned us about there was out of control wildfires on the West Coast in that book, and just the fall of civilization through and an authoritarian president coming in and running on the platform, Make America Great Again. And she wrote this in the 90s. And I'm not lying. That was his platform in this book. And I don't know. It's freaky how prescient the situations in these books are. And then, some of it's this other, weird kind of dystopian stuff, but just the explanation of how the United States falls apart and then the responses to it, it's really, really striking.
I should probably read it again. I read it in the aughts. I think I read it. I had a phase where I read her Dawn book of the trilogy. That was Dawn. Is that the
one where there's like the woman who's lived for hundreds and hundreds of years?
Another planet, yeah.
And then a man has lived for hundreds of years and he's pursuing her.
I just remember it starts off, she's being taken off Earth in an alien spaceship, and then...
Oh, no, I haven't read that. I'm thinking of Wild Seed.
Okay, that may be different, yeah. So
I want to read... Tell me about Dawn. I want to read that.
That's all I mean. How much can you remember from a book that you read almost 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago? So it was good though. I remember really liking the book, and I read the whole trilogy like in a year. And I don't usually read trilogies that fast, but they were good. Of course, I think my favorite still is her short story, Bloodchild.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
I read those last year. I've got those back here. That collection and that story, those are amazing.
That really is an amazing story.
And then Kindred is.
Kindred.
I read Kindred. That was the first one I read. That was way back in the 90s. So
yeah.
I need to read the stuff I haven't read yet, because the things I have read have all been just great. There's another reading project that needs to happen.
Oh, it's only March. My whole year is like already packed with books. That how am I going to read? Everything.
I am too, and I have this notebook where I put down ideas in advance. That I'm thinking of a book, and I think, oh, that would be great to read for People April or whatever. And then by the time I get to that page, I always think, oh, I just have a couple things I have to read. I turn it and I've already listed like 15 books. Like, no, I did it again every month, wall to wall.
I know.
I try to have some wiggle room so I can add stuff. Like you and I read Beautyland. I wasn't planning on reading that. That was a good book.
Well, I want to be flexible like that, so I can do an impromptu buddy read or just something that I see on the shelf at the library. But I don't know. I get too excited and commit to too many things.
Yeah, we hear
you.
I
am. Thing is, I'm not much of a mood reader, as much of a planner. I think I do better planning, so I know what books I'm going to be reading in the month ahead of time.
Yeah.
Every now and then you can squeeze one in. That's good, but I'm mostly a planner rather than a mood reader.
I am now. I used to be a mood reader. I mean, I had a list of things I was kind of on the lookout for, but I would, before I was into BookTube and all that, I would just, maybe I had a book on my shelf, or I just go to the library with no plan, and I come back with a stack of books, and then that's what I read. And then I don't know. I do love planning those. I love a list and a calendar and a schedule and all that. So it kind of works.
Did your library have like what they called Lucky Day, or new releases? You could check out 2 books for like a month. It's called Lucky Day.
Mine, well, we
like
don't have any.
books.
Yeah, not now. I used to go to a library, and they had a section called Too Hot to Hold. And that would be new releases, but you could only have them for a week. And they wouldn't let anyone put a hold on them right away.
Our libraries had something like that too. It's like the really popular books, they buy like a copy. Yeah. And it's not like normally you put a hold and you have a list. You're number 35 out of 10 copy or whatever. But these are just in there. And you have to go to the library, have to take it off the shelf.
That's how I used to get my new release titles from. But they don't do it up here anymore. They changed a lot after the pandemic, you know.
Yeah.
All right, Angelia, any other books you want to highlight?
No.
Okay. Let's catch up on some comments. Got a couple of comments. I'm going to go through them pretty quick, and then we can talk to Alan about what he's been doing. Lee, reading The Waiting Years by Inchy, my second book. God, I love that book. I don't know that one.
Me neither.
Cat, I'm okay, but keeping full. This is she's talking to Cat. Conversation. Beckham. What's wrong? Need chaotic good vibes. A full stomach does help. I think she's talking to Lee. William has a Dutch translation of The Long Walk by Stephen King. I want to read it to improve my Dutch. But I read this else. Long Walk is really an impressive book.
Yeah.
What's even more impressive is he wrote that when he was in college. Hadn't even graduated yet.
Oh, wow.
Now, he published it a few years afterwards, so he may have taken his college book as a first draft and polished it up a bit. So, but still, as an early novel, it's really impressive.
That's a Richard Bachman novel, isn't it?
It was originally a Richard Bachman.
Okay. So, but his first published book was Carrie, right?
It was his first published, but it was not his first book that he wrote.
Right. Okay. So that might be the first book he actually wrote, but he just sat on it until later.
You'd have to ask a Stephen King person. I don't know that.
He published it under Richard Bachman, but Carrie's the first one under Stephen King.
Yep.
I have one of those Richard Bachman books that has like the really jokey biography thing in it about like something about, I don't know, basically
farmer.
Oh, let me go see it. Something funny. I'll get it. Wait, I'll be right back.
Let me get through some comments here.
Okay, I can still hear you. I'm just
here's comments. I checked out the Heaven and Earth grocery store, and King's You Like It Darker today. Cat, I was a Spice Girls fan, but never big on Posh and her husband. I was never big on the Spice Girls. I think they came too late in my life. She said, "No, Long Island is not exciting."
It's not. That's where Billy Joel comes from.
You can just hop over to New York City, easy peasy, right?
Yeah. Long Island, where you want to be.
Authorized book. No, Cat lived in Virginia for a bit, but too young to remember anything aside the dinosaurs at the museum, and then the Natural History Museum dinosaurs are just fantastic.
Yes.
And they're free. Indeed, the museums are free.
I love the Smithsonian.
I remember I was going to a museum somewhere else, you haven't grown up in DC. I was going, it's like, what do you mean you pay to get into a museum?
Yeah, sometimes
Because
you have to pay a lot.
every museum down there is free, at least back when I was.
Yeah, they still are. We were there on a vacation in November. In fact, we got together with Hannah and our friend Michael. That was he drove from Pennsylvania. So anyway, Hannah and Michael and I and my husband Stephen were all got together, and we went to the Hirshhorn, and it was this really fabulous show.
And didn't you see Kamala speak too?
Yes. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I blacked it out in my tragic memories, but yes, we saw Kamala Harris rally, her last one, because it was right before the election. It was like Halloween, and we went and saw Romeo and Juliet at the Folger Theater. But anyway, yeah, the three museums. But yeah, we were feeling hopeful still that week.
We were. Lee graduated from Lynchburg.
Oh, okay.
So Gareth, here's the concept. Gareth, I finished Sonny's Blues recently. I thought Sonny's Blues is a great short story.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
I remember the very end. I mean, I'm not a musician, but when he started talking about music,
yes,
as a non-musician, I really started to feel what it would be like to be a musician from that story.
Right. And you're with that narrator when he's finally understanding the music and his brother and listening to him play. And
right.
Yeah. Well, I found the book. Okay, so it's The Regulars by Richard Bachman, and it's in the back. There's this picture. Whoops, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little picture of Stephen King, but it says Richard Bachman died in 1985. His widow, Claudia Inez Eshelman, discovered the manuscript of The Regulators, along with some other writings, in the attic of the Bachman residence in New Hampshire. Both Thinner and the Bachman books are available in paperback with a new introduction by Stephen King.
That's funny. I remember Thinner too, where the gypsy would like reach out, touch you with, and Thinner. Ooh.
Oh yeah, I remember reading Thinner, but like back when it was a new release and it was a big novelty thing but everybody knew that it was. I mean, I think somebody let the cat out of the bag, so his attempt to write under the pseudonym didn't work.
That's when he got busted
on Thinner.
Yeah.
I remember reading. I've never read this. I got this at a library book sale, but I haven't read it.
When it first came out, and I don't remember a thing about it.
Yeah, the long walk though was. Yeah, I almost said something to spoil it, but always concerned about spoilers. But
here's a nice comment. People throughout the ages figured out more about astronomy with basic tools than we are with things being in our faces about current climate. The thing is, they don't want to know about climate. It's not that they don't know, it's just they just can't admit it.
Well, it's one of those inconvenient truths because you have to do something about it.
Yeah, it's more like live now, pay later.
They'd rather just not care about what happens. Well, we already know it's a group without empathy or caring for.
Yeah.
They don't care about people right here next to them. So why would they care about somebody 75 years from now after they're dead?
That's so true. Yes, we're the spaceship to escape. Yes, where is the spaceship to escape with? Yeah, we might have to wait for that spaceship for a little bit. Gareth might be able to help with the Beckham book. I guess Lee's talking. He's still trying to figure out about the Beckham book. We hop on the spaceship. I need to get out. Well, Kat, you're going to have to fight us for a space. We all want off. Of course, we have to worry about what planet we're being taken to, especially if they're talking about how to serve man.
I've read a few different books about, the setting up colonies and other places to get, and it's usually about some kind of devastating way we've managed to trash the earth, so we have to leave.
Yeah.
But then it always ends up being, it's like, what's that saying? If the problem keeps happening wherever you go, you must be the problem. So
Yeah, take it with us.
yeah, wherever you go, there you are.
Stick my head out the open window and inhale. I'm just gonna say F it.
All right, let me fly through a couple of comments. Get back some. We got a lot of comments I'm backed up on here.
All right.
If I skip some over, it's nothing personal. Parable of Talents includes a Christian national movement with the motto "Make America Great Again." Yeah, we mentioned. I got to read that book again now. Plan my mood. Grab a book. Lee. Yeah, some things about football and Beckham. Long walk is extremely impressive. I thought of it every time I sat down for weeks. Sorry, Kat. People was talking. I grew up in Long Island. Lots of people talking to each other. All the museums and galleries in London are free. So my wife expects that in other countries. Ha ha. Only in Washington, D.C. Free museums. Nice. Yeah.
Portland museums are free on the first Thursday.
Oh, here's Hannah. I've gone to the Smithsonian Museum with all three of you.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hannah, it's like the 6 degrees of separation.
Mm-hmm.
We only spent like half a day there because I was too tired.
Yeah.
We walked around. Greg and I walked around like 10 miles or more, I think.
Yeah, that was a good walking day for me. Hey, Marcia Johnson.
Hey, Marcia.
And I get
we always get a case of museum back after we've been doing that for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Museum back or museum feet.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we're down at the end of comments. So let's take some time. Alan, what have you been reading?
Well, we're halfway through the Brothers K.
Mm-hmm.
And there's book chat with Pat. We had a funny little time last week with this Brothers and Sisters K. It's kind of an
Don't forget the sisters.
Yeah. Well,
were you part of that group where Pat was talking about her?
She told me about it, so I went back and looked at the whole thread of the comments.
The funny thing, that was all my idea on the Voxer, and it's after Brothers and Sisters, the Allman Brothers album is why I kind of named it like that. But I mean, there's some sisters in here. I call her Guinevere, but what's her real name? Who's the one who was with Dimitri and the father?
Oh, these Russian names, they're just difficult. You try to recognize them when they come up again. It's like,
yeah, that's how I do it. But anyway, so I'm on schedule with this.
As far as I know, in the Michael Katz translation, he's actually toned down the diminutives, the use of Russian diminutives, because it's just the way that the Russians, every name has number of diminutives,
right?
And I think in the Katz translation, he just cuts it down a bit because he understands that the typical English speaker is going to get lost because sometimes the diminutive is far away from the original name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm keeping up on that. I'll spend some time with it tonight. I'll probably spend like an hour reading just this tonight.
I'm on track. I'm a little behind. I'm still starting book 7.
So. You're like a book behind.
Yeah, no, we're supposed to have book 7 done by this week.
I think I've only read Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky.
So far, I'm still a Crime and Punishment fan. I mean, there's always people say which is Dostoevsky's best novel. A lot of people pick the Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah, I would.
I think I am still a Crime and Punishment fan more, just because it's so intense and so personal.
Right.
Yes.
And you can feel Raskolnikov, just the weight of what he's done and his guilt just crushing him.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah, I
about it now.
remember that, even though it's been probably decades since I read it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a mark of a great novel when you
Mm-hmm.
remember it. And then I'm buddy reading this classic George Eliot, Middlemarch.
Oh, I love Middlemarch.
Yeah, I read it a long time ago and remember real vaguely about Dorothea and how she was kind of romantic. And so I'm reading that.
Is that your Mammoth?
Yes.
I have a Mammoth, but I can't start it till I finish Barchester Towers because I just can't deal with two long 19th century books at once.
What is it?
Oh, it's the Count of Monte Cristo.
That's
Yeah, I have that written down here. I heard you talking about that on your last video. I love that.
I'm gonna start it after Barchester Towers, so I don't have to keep track of too many big cast of characters at once. So I think I'll start it in March, but it'll probably go on.
You know something? That's all that counts is that you start it or finish it in March, or just read part of it in March.
Yeah. So March have 30 days. How much time do I have?
Well, the thing is like I'm retired, so reading 1,000-page book for me is not a huge commitment. But there are other people with kids and jobs and whatever, and just can't hack it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm retired too. I just have too many. I just sign up for too many projects, and so I'm always thinking with the long ones. Okay, I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to finish this, and this first, and then So it's like they just keep coming like the conveyor belt of chocolates, and I never start the long book. But I'm going to. I've said it. I put it in video and everything. I've committed in the public eye, so I have to finally do it. And I bought this copy like 3 years ago, and I was all excited how I was going to finally read the Count of Monte Cristo, and then here it still is.
Well, who's the translator on the Count of Monte Cristo?
Let me see. Robin Buss.
Okay, I think that's the most recent translation.
Okay, this is I'll have to see. This is a 2012 edition.
Yeah.
Oh, this translation first published in 1996.
Oh.
No, it's getting old. Now, the thing about the Count of Monte Cristo is a lot of abridged translations out there.
Oh.
Yeah, well, that can't possibly be abridged. It's got a gazillion page. It's a Penguin classic.
Like 1,400.
What?
It's probably about 1,400 pages, depending on the print size.
I think. Yeah, it is. It's like it looks like 1,300.
Okay, 1,300. Yeah.
And it really doesn't have notes in the end. There's only a few pages of footnotes in here, I think. Oh no, actually, there's quite a few. But anyway, I'm excited about it. It's just clearing a space to get started. Once I get going, I read the first chapter just to sample it, and I was quite intrigued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember where I was at when I read that, and it was a great read. I'll never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, I'm reading a fantasy with Pat called, might have heard of it, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb.
I have heard of it.
I've heard of that. I think I even have it on my Kindle, but who knows if I'll ever actually get around to reading it.
Yeah, I like a fantasy sometimes, and Pat and I we talk a lot about politics too, and sometimes we got to take a break, and it's a good palate cleanser.
Yeah, you got to have something. I feel like it's really important this year to always have in mind something on the lighter side, and to throw in when you need it.
Yeah. Oh no, I was doing a tag, and I was going to pull Breakfast of Champions out, and now I can't find it. I gave it away to somebody I remembered. They wanted to borrow it. So I said, no, just keep it. So I now have to, because it's coming up in our Vonnegut.
Oh, I know. I'm not, I don't know if I have time this month for it.
Yeah, but that book you could read like in a weekend in the bathroom almost.
In the bathroom?
Yeah. No, that's where W.C. Fields kept his library.
All right, Alan, are you done talking about your books?
Yeah, I'm done talking.
All right, I want to talk about this one. This is a graphic novel called Clyde Fans. I
Huh.
reread it. I read it a few years ago. Let me just give a background. This is the author photo. He's an artist. He's standing in front of us built in Toronto called Clyde Fans in the 90s, and it was an abandoned building. It had been out of business for a couple like a decade or two. And he looked in and he saw there was, all this office equipment from the 80s and a picture of two men in business suits on the back wall. They really couldn't quite see other than seeing two businessmen. And he decided, what is the story of this abandoned business? So he just made up, the people involved, and it's two brothers who inherited this building, this Clyde Fans from their father. Started in the 30s.
Like fans, like ceiling fans?
Ceiling fans.
Okay.
And power fans. It was started in the 30s. So
okay.
It's got this really interesting color. It's all this blue tinted color. And it starts off in 1997 when one of the brothers is probably like in his 80s and he's living in this abandoned building. There's like this loft upstairs with the head housing. And he's alone and everyone he knows is dead. And he's reminiscing about what life was like as a salesman
at Clyde Fan
during selling fans. And it's a really fascinating study.
I've heard of that.
Because it starts off in the 90s and it goes back to like 54 when it was booming, and he's got a brother who's just not all there. He's sort of has like some sort of mental illness where he's just sort of very introverted. And that's really not a good job for a salesman.
No.
So it goes through back, and I just really like these stories, especially there's this chapter of the introverted salesman trying to be a salesman. He's going out on a road trip to make sales, and he's just absolutely a disastrously bad salesman. I mean,
that would be the worst job.
It is. I mean,
a traveling fan salesman.
Yeah. And this is Toronto, Canada, where most of the year you don't need fans, but you do need in the summer. And
if you came around the neighborhood in July in my neighborhood with fans, you'd probably get a lot of takers because everybody wears out their fans.
Yeah, but it's just it's a psychological study that this author said does so well.
Yeah,
and the thing is, you see a picture of this bad salesman. He's going to his business, and he's taking a book, and he's taking the poetry of Stephen Crane along with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going like, yeah, buddy, you're not going to be a salesman.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking for my journal. I want to jot that one down.
It's great.
Sorry.
I mean, it's a graphic novel, and I reread it because I'm on this, challenge to read books pages. Yeah. And I'm saying this is 480 pages that I can read basically in a day because it's a graphic novel.
Yes, I love how they do move along. You get it, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so thick, and then it just zips.
But sometimes his illustrations are just so fascinating. You stop and pay attention because the author does put a lot of detail in a lot of his illustrations. Some of them are just weird because you got this brother on his sales trip, and I don't know if you can see that he's imagining himself as a bird with a human head and a hat being drawn to a lighthouse.
I'm gonna look this up.
And the lighthouse is where his passions are, and he can't quite get there. It's a really fascinating book. One of my favorite. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of graphic novels. I do read them occasionally. I think this would be my second favorite graphic novel.
After what?
Mouse.
From Hell.
Okay. I have Mouse and I still haven't read it. It's
From Hell might be, I don't know.
Oh, what'd you say, Mouse?
Mouse.
Mouse.
I don't know. From Hell's up there too.
That's
might be
another one I
scarier
bought
too.
and haven't read.
But it's one of the really good graphic novels from someone who does not read a lot.
I've shown you my Crime and Punishment graphic novel before.
I've read that one.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised.
And it was all right. It was a very odd retelling of Crime and Punishment.
Yeah, it was. But remember, I liked how they futurized it, or what do you call it when
they put it in contemporary Russia from what was written the night. I don't think it worked all that well.
It was odd.
I struck out.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just an odd choice to do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I had to take that phone call. Sorry about that.
No trouble.
I had to look up Clyde fans at the library, but they didn't have it.
Oh.
I have to look. I have one more library to look up. I only had. I have a little game of libraries that I have access to.
Yeah, but.
Well, there's the one where I live, and then the one where I live, and then Corpus Library. Then the Houston Library. If you live in Texas, you can use the Houston Library, digitally. And then a library where I used to live, my card is still active, so I can use their stuff digitally.
I have that thing too.
Right.
So I used to live in Washington State, and I lived near King County. So I have a King County library card. And King County features in like the top libraries of the United States.
It's Seattle, isn't it?
No, King County, Seattle is in King County.
Yeah.
But Seattle has its own public library. And I wish I used to work in Seattle. And I could have walked down the library and said, I work in Seattle. Here's my paycheck. And they would have given me a library card. Because if you work in the city, you're absolutely eligible to use their library. And they're a pretty good library too. And I wish it, because now I have the King County Library, which is pretty decent. I have the Pierce County Library in Washington, which is not as good as King County, but it's better than the Central Rappahannock, Virginia Library I currently live in, and much better than the Prince William County. No, well, Prince William County Library is about equal to Central Rappahannock. So I got 4 libraries. 90% of them are like digital books. Like, of course, King County is all digital because they're in Washington State, but they have a really good selection. Sometimes King County will have a library and no other library will have it.
I go to my library a lot because we can print things for free. I don't have a printer, but I do it for my artwork and that. Mm-hmm. I have a printer downstairs in the art studio, a color printer that I use, but you can't send stuff like wireless, where you can at the library. So that's kind of cool. I'm at the library all the time.
So that's some of the things I'm reading. And now for March of the Mammoth, I have 2 things I'm reading for March of the Mammoths. One is an audiobook, and that is Natchez Burning by Greg Iles.
I love that novel.
You read the one?
I love that.
It's all about civil rights and the crimes that were committed during the 60s.
Violent book.
And this book is set in like 2004. So you have a lot of the older people who were part of the KKK and did a lot of vicious crimes.
Yeah, I have a memory of that book still after reading it.
It's slowly coming out that their crimes are being uncovered all these years later. Like they're all in their 70s now. But
I remember scenes from a swamp in there. They're going in a boat through the swamp, and isn't it like a male-female detective kind of?
No, not yet. Well, no, I'm only about 10 hours into a 35-hour audiobook, so I have a lot to go.
But I remember scenes from that.
There is a scene it's not a huge spoiler because it's early in the book, where one of the Klansmen is bringing one of the African Americans who they're going to be killing.
Yeah,
and they're dropping him off in the middle of one of the Mississippi swamps.
Yeah,
And
that
there's
kind of thing.
this thing called the bone tree, which is apparently one of these huge trees that are in the swamp, and it's hollowed out in the middle. And the
Yeah.
story is that during rough weather, animals jump in for protection and can't jump out.
Oh, that's kind of gruesome.
So inside the tree are the bones of a lot of animals.
Okay, so that
And-
then they're gonna put someone in there to.
Yeah, and the idea is like there's more than just animal bones in this tree.
Okay.
But no, it's good because they have characters, and I won't get into the details, but there's a doctor who may have committed an assisted suicide or helped with an assisted suicide.
Isn't it about families too fighting in? Or am I thinking another
You
Greg
might be
Isle?
thinking, I mean, there's an 800-page book. There's a lot of detail on this, and I'm only 10 hours in.
I
So
like him a lot, though. I like this. There's like a black something title. It's about World War II and Nazis.
oh yeah, that's one of his first books.
That's a great one.
That was his first novel about
Black
World War II.
something.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but
Yeah, he's good.
and
I
then
think
I'm reading Stephen King's It as my March of the Mammoth. That's
Oh,
1,186 pages. So
that's kind of a classic.
Yeah,
I read it when it first came out, so I'm slowly remembering certain things in this book.
all the little
I
kids.
don't think I ever read that. I think the longest. I mean, I read the really long one of his. I read was The Stand, but I read it. I think I read it as a new release when I was in 8th grade or something. Like I read it before it got even longer.
Right.
And
The second edition. Huh.
yeah, I never reread it, but I read it as a teenager when my first, Stephen King era.
It's one of those like coming of age stories, a bunch of kids, and then they experience Pennywise. And well, I won't tell the whole thing, but then they come around being older, and
Right.
I
Yeah,
enjoy
no, I've never read it, or I've never seen the movies, the old movies or the newer movies either. I missed everything. And when the movies came out again a few years ago, my husband took our daughter, and some friends or something, but somehow I wasn't there for that either. So I just always miss whatever it's about. I miss it every time.
It's
John
all right.
Boy's in it.
Huh?
John Boy's in it, and then that rock singer plays Pennywise the clown. He was on Broadway too. He's a good singer. I forget his name, but I thought he was good.
Was that the old movie?
I think it was the original.
Okay.
The original movie.
Gene Simmons.
No, he's not in it.
I thought he was the Pennywise the Clown.
No, it's I'll look it up. He played like a Rocky Horror. He played that character on Broadway.
Tim Curry?
Yeah,
Tim
that's
Curry.
it.
All right.
Okay.
Hold on. I had some comments I wanted to get in. Hello, Diane. I'm sorry I'm late for saying hi, but that's
Diane.
just the way it goes. Marcia is reading her first graphic novel called Logic Max about Bertrand Russell. Oh,
what is it?
The
a
philosopher.
graphic novel about Bertrand Russell. I might have to pick that one up.
That sounds interesting.
Bookish, no mammoth for me this year. I enjoy finishing books too much. Oh, Brian, you were the one who created a video who says the way to read a long book is to read it slowly and savor it and not try to get through it like you only can read this book.
Yeah, I saw that video.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
So Cinephile just finished 3 12-hour shifts and read and watched The Illustrated Man. Illustrated Man is a really good collection of short stories.
I need to get that one. I have the Martian Chronicles, but I don't have the Illustrated Man. We had to read it back in high school, but that was in class. So I need to read it as someone who's actually into it, not having to write a paper.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hannah, I'm going to start my mammoth book tonight. Hermione Lee's bio of Edith Wharton. Ooh, okay.
Hey, Edith Wharton. And then if you don't finish, it can carry over and be People April.
Yes, absolutely. I got to figure out what book I'm going to read for People April. I haven't decided yet.
I haven't either. I've been looking at my list of things that might qualify and seeing if I'm in the mood for some of them.
I just saw a lecture last month about there was a new biography. It's a few years about President Garfield. And the thing is, he was the president that was assassinated. That's really all that he's known for.
Right.
But the writer said he really was a remarkable person before he got assassinated. So
yeah, somebody, let me think. I think it's Heidi who's book two where someone's doing a study where they're reading biographies of each president.
I'm trying that too. Right now I'm stuck. I really should be reading John Quincy Adams next. It'd be my next president.
Oh, you're trying to do them in order?
I'm trying to do them in order because it gives you a perspective of history.
Okay, yeah.
Now, of course, I've read biographies of like Nixon and Lincoln and Coleridge and Johnson and others. And I just have to reread them or get new biographies. But the idea is if you read them in order, it gives you a better perspective of history because John Quincy Adams is, of course, mentioned in the biography of Adams because he's his son, and he's mentioned other things because he's still a diplomat and raising in political power. But then the focus is mainly on Quincy Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after Quincy Adams, there is some presidents that don't have a lot of biographies out there. You get this little area in that part of the 19th century where there's not a lot available.
Well, you can find it if you go to the kids section because they sell those. I was a school librarian. You get them in a giant set.
Yeah.
Every few years you get a new set because they have to update and add whoever is on the end. So if you ever get completely stuck, you can probably find one that was meant for a fourth grader, and you can at least get the basics and say you did indeed read a biography.
Yeah. I've been trying to also do all audiobooks, just for preference. And there's some older biographies like who's the guy? There's some of these presidents that no one remembers anymore, really. But
you ever read that Ben Franklin autobiography?
No.
Oh, it's a good one.
Autobiography or biography?
Biography. Oh, no, it's an autobiography.
No, the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin I read at university.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, Ariane says, I started my mammoth, The Deluge by Stephen Markley, and it's really good. I want to read that one.
I've heard that's really good.
I really liked Ohio. I know Alan hates Ohio.
I really liked it. I just DNF'd it.
I haven't read anything by him.
I think he's only written 2 books, Ohio.
Oh, that's it? Ohio and Deluge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about, I might change my mind, but for People April, I'm kind of thinking about I like graphic memoirs and biographies.
Oh.
So I'm trying to look through those.
Well, now we've already got a suggestion. The biography of Bertrand Russell. Hold on.
Yeah, I know. I need to write that one down too.
I really have to I have to write this down too. So
I'm just gonna.
Or you could read James Joyce's Portrait of a Dubliner graphic novel.
I could.
It has nudity in it, Greg.
Okay, there's nudity everywhere. It's not going to be
probably a banned book.
Who knows?
I liked it.
Oh, Jess says I can never read 100,000 pages. Yes, Jess, you can read 1,000 pages. You just got to find the right 1,000.
Hey, you've read Stephen King's Stand in that, haven't you, Jeff? I mean, those are up there.
You know what book she might like is one you really like. Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett.
Yeah, I love that book.
That's either 800 or 1,000 pages. There's somewhere in that area. And
I
don't
Jess,
like-
if
I
you
don't
read
like
it,
that book.
you have to
No.
read it on the bus.
No.
Because Alan's walking away. It's like Alan mentioned he was reading Pillars of the Earth on the bus. And Alan will tell us.
Oh yeah, and then one of the main characters died, and I'm like, ah! And everyone turned blood. Even the bus driver like stopped. I said, no, I'm just reading a book. I've read all that series. Me and Jeremy Fee, we were followed buddy readers.
Sin
That
Files.
one didn't. I know people love that book, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah, it's cool how some people had different opinions on that. I've tried to turn Greg on that, not one, not two, but I think 3 books now, and he like DNF'd them.
Shanaram, I did not finish.
But in my defense, Steve Donahue liked it too.
Yeah, but who's our friend from is it
Ireland? Yeah, Jason.
Jason Harrigan?
It
He
was
hated
with
it
Greg.
too. He says full of navel gazing.
Yeah, we said takes place in India. I said I like it, and I like it so much. I have the sequel to it too. And they're both big.
And what's the one by your college professor who wrote
Wake Up
Bang the Drum
Stupid.
Slowly?
Yeah, Mark Harris.
Oh, Wake Up Stupid. That's the one you tried to get me. And I got through like 80 pages and said, nah.
Yeah.
So Sinfil is trying to get to the
Homeboy, and I think you'll like that one though.
Which one?
Homeboy, when we get around to it someday.
All right. You know, we're looking at 2026. I think.
I know. I think this Heinz kidnap is going to be a good one though. From Nettie.
Are we trying that in this year or next year?
I don't know. You have to tell me. Maybe this year.
Maybe
December.
not. I got some big books to read this year.
It's only March, and I'm already have things that are like lined up for next year because, like, I barely started this play project, and people are talking about things and giving me ideas about things I should include in year 2. Like when I haven't even said I was doing year 2, but I guess I am because people are telling me stuff I should put in. So yeah, 2026 is. It's on the books already.
It's on the books. Remember, if it's on your TBR, you can't die.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm in no danger.
So Sinfil is trying to read his unread John Le Carré. He has about 12.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And how long is it? Marcia, I could only read up to 500 pages. Oh, Jess, you can do more than 500.
Yeah, I call BS on that, Jess.
Well, I'm not the right one to give advice because I take forever to get to a mammoth. But then what I tell myself is I'm going to read 500 pages anyway. I'm going to read 1,000 pages anyway. You know, whether it's 3 books or 4 books or 1 book, I'm still going to read that many pages over the next however piece of time. It's really just a matter of the right book because you got to be invested in there.
Yeah.
I got 400 pages into Bleak House and put it aside, and I felt like I wanted my time back.
That's a big clunker.
I could not. I don't know. I might try it again sometime though. But it just I never could figure out if it was the book or the timing or what the problem was. But
yeah, sometimes you don't know. But when I get locked into a book, I'm the same way I was when I was a kid. I look at the clock and I'll see like midnight, and I'll look again, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going, what the heck? What? Where have I been?
Yeah. Real life intrudes. It's like you have to do all these annoying things like eat dinner and
right. But sometimes it'll be like 7 a.m. and I'll ask the wife and the kids and the dog what they want. We all agree on tacos. Yeah, it's amazing in my household.
So Gareth recommends Persepolis. I've read both of her books.
Yes.
In 2025.
That's a good one.
It was good.
And the movie was good too.
I did not know they made it, but it was an impress. I mean, especially the first Persepolis, I really liked. The second one was okay. I didn't think it was as cohesive as the first, but
I only did the first one.
yeah, she has. Now it depends on what edition you get. I think the more recent editions just bind the two together as one book. But I got it from the library, so they had to get separate editions. But
I feel like I read it when it was new, so I don't know. It's been a long time.
So yeah, Marsha's also interested in Persepolis. Yeah, Marsha, get it. It's a good one. Yeah, she's telling Brian her book is about 900 pages. Greatest graphic novel of all time for me is From Hell. It's a good one.
Is that about Jack the Ripper?
It is about Jack the Ripper.
Okay, I read about that somewhere recently.
And I'm going to give you just a sneak peek. This is for a video that's coming up tomorrow. I actually have From Hell.
Is it nonfiction or is it a fictionalized?
It is. It's a fictionalized version of Jack the Ripper. So
okay,
you will have to wait.
I'll watch the video.
Why that book is on my table to make a video about tomorrow.
See, and then I'll put it in let's see, I'll put it in October because that looks scary.
Well, there is still an event that is tentatively planned. It's called Ripperpalooza.
Ripperpalooza?
Ripperpalooza for October, maybe September. Where we're going to be reading Jack the Ripper books.
Oh, that's cheery fun.
It is cheery fun.
I'm not doing it.
Oh, you're backing it. Okay. But still, I think I'm in, MJ's in, maybe some other people join in. I gotta nudge people in the group and say, are we really doing this?
Yeah. I'll listen to the information. I don't know if I wanted a whole project of it, but
yeah, I've read that book with that nonfiction book, and I liked it, but I don't want to spend a lot of time there.
5 was the first selection for People April.
Oh,
what?
The 5 is about the 5 women who were murdered by Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
And the idea is that the author, because they were all listed as prostitutes.
Okay.
And the author said, you just don't get on women because they're murdered saying that they're prostitutes. And she laid out her theory that, okay, maybe they weren't prostitutes. I'll leave it at that. Yes, changing up some variety and genre, length of books helps. She's probably talking about, there was a comment here that I kind of skipped over about sometimes reading shorter books in the middle of a longer book just to get through the longer book. Well, it was nice chatting, says Jess. Have to go. Have a great week, bookworms. Well, bye, Jess.
Bye-bye.
I'm here in the UK dying after 4 12-hour shifts. I would die after 4 12-hour shifts too. I remember when I was working the office, I was an 8-hour-a-day guy. Okay, I done my 8 hours, I'm out of here.
What if the boss wants to have a night meeting?
Well, that's a problem I had later on, is where the bosses did like to meet meetings after my 8-hour shift. But that's a subject for a different rant.
I guess my school days were about 8 hours. I can't really. I don't know. It felt longer. It felt like 90 hours sometimes, but depends on the day. Either went really fast or went really slow. Never went in real time.
So Hannah says Natchez Burning is a great audiobook. I agree. That's how I'm doing it right now. I actually bought the whole trilogy as an audiobook. They had a special where you get all three, from Audible, all 3 books for 1 credit.
Wow. Yeah.
It's really good. It's like 96 hours of books for 1 credit. That's a lot of hours.
That's a lot of entertainment.
Deals.
What?
Good. They've been having some good deals, Audible.
They do. Cinephil says From Hell is my favorite graphic novel. Le Carré is my favorite writer of all time.
Ah.
Now, have you read Nick Harkaway's books? His son?
I have. I've read a couple. I have a couple of them on my TBR that I haven't read. And I haven't read any of the father. I've only read the son.
You've only read the son. His son is actually really good. I mean, the only book I have not read by him is Tiger Man.
I haven't read that. I've only read one or two, but I don't know. I keep it. He's on my never-ending list of things I'm intending to get back around to. But I get distracted by shiny new things and I forget about my backlist.
I'm forgetting the title of his first book. It's coming. It'll hit me in just a few minutes. And it's one that I learned about from Nancy Pearl. She was from the Seattle Public Library. And she said she was reading this book. And someone in the comments maybe can find the first. And she says, you're going to get to a certain section of this book. And your jaw is going to drop. And you're going to want to start the book from the beginning.
Is it?
Not having finished it. Just go back to the beginning. Say, how did I freaking miss this?
Is it the Gone Away World?
Gone Away World, yes.
That's one of the ones on my list that I want to read. That's not, but the one that I read was a different one. But that's on my list.
Now, is the one about the mechanical bee about bees?
That's the one I read.
That was a good one too.
Yes. And then once I read that, which was like 10 years ago, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to read other books by this author. And I still haven't gotten to them.
Gone Away World. I mean, I read it. Now, I did not go back to the beginning like Nancy Pearl said she wanted to do, but it is a jaw-dropping moment where you say,
I really want to read it.
So stupid that I did not realize what was going on. It's just that way.
Oh, wow. Well, now, how am I ever going to... See, now I can't read The Count of Monte Cristo after all, because I got to go get the Gone Away World.
I don't think Gone Away World's 800 pages. I think it's like 400.
Yeah, at first, before I decided to read The Count, I thought, well, maybe I could just cheat and try to get away with reading two kind of long books and sort of like a two-headed mammoth. But I decided that I needed to quit messing around and just read my long book.
Marcia's put the Nachos Burning on hold from the library. It's a good one.
It's a great one.
Definitely exciting.
Violent.
Although certainly quite disturbing too. Hannah, have you read the rest of the trilogy? Just out of curiosity. I mean, I have not finished Nachos Burning, but based on what I've read, I'm definitely going to continue on. Especially since I have the two books on audiobook anyway. Logic Comics is about Bertrand Russell's early career. It's absolutely fascinating. And I have been a page turner for me. I got to check it out from the library. Maybe that'd be my People April book. Because April,
sounds like a good one.
April is I don't have a major book to read, and I want to fill it with other little books and just.
You know what I might read in April for People April? Now this is the old Al Pacino bio, and his new one, Sonny Boy, is coming out. So I might try to read both of them. Or Sonny Boy, I'm waiting for audio.
You know, Alan, you can do your star biographies. That's my line in the sand. Is I don't do star biographies.
I like to read them, and I like. Well, the bad thing about like the audio, you don't get any photos like in the books. Now that I'm trying to find a photo, I can't. But I like Al Pacino a lot. You know, he's a Shakespearean actor. I like his Richard III. I like his Shylock. But I always kind of liked him. You ever see the movie Dog Day Afternoon?
I did see Dog Day
Afternoon. Yeah.
You saw it too, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Well, my dad took me and my brother to see that in a movie theater when I was like 13. My brother was 10. And all the F words, remember?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one where they're trying to rob the bank, right?
Yeah.
To get the money for the transition surgery.
Well, they called it a sex change operation back in
Yeah,
those
because
days.
it was 1972 or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Attica. But he's saying the F word all up and down. That movie, we were far too young to. I was probably younger than 13, but my brother's like 4 years younger than me. Huh.
Okay. Doesn't everybody have a story about their dad taking them to an inappropriate movie? Like my dad took me and my brother to see Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke. And my mom was so mad because my mom was at work and he was bored or whatever. And so he took us to the movies and that's the movie he picked. And I think I was in middle school. So I thought it was hilarious and I knew it was entirely inappropriate. And I was just laughing. And my brother he's 7 years younger than me. So he was like, he has no clue. He was like 7 or something.
That's funny.
And, but he still thought it was funny because everybody was laughing and we thought it was funny. And he just thought it was like these two crazy guys driving around, Right. And he missed all the, all the drug jokes and everything. But and then my mom got home and like, what did you do today? We saw a funny movie, She's like,
oh yeah, which one? Up in Smoke. Isn't it on the back of the car? Oh God.
Now all I remember is when I was pretty young, I went to see a movie called The Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was all that graphic, but they started using some risque word, and not even bad words. Like they use the word ass, which nowadays is not. And I was going like, oh, they're swearing.
I've seen an adult movie. Whoa.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman, who just died, was in that.
Could be, yeah.
I saw Willy Wonka in a movie theater with my dad. Took us. It's a pretty long time ago. Willy Wonka.
That's a little more appropriate.
Yeah, I have a real fondness for that movie. I've seen it a million times.
So Diane likes the idea of reading in order of presidential bios. Gareth has to do something for people. April, English, so have not a thing to say about U.S. presidents at the moment.
No, you might have to end your project just a little early, so if you don't have to read something you really don't want to read.
Well, to be fair, I finished an audiobook called Essex Dogs by Dan Johnson. It's a historical novel, 13th century, where they're talking about King Edward III's invasion of France. And I'm going like, okay, this king is just like, who, what, British history. I don't know it that well. But he might know who I'm talking about. He might know about that war.
It's so funny how you'll read these really old books and these certain characters and situations just blaze up. Remind you of current things.
Mm-hmm. Lee wants to read a biography about each of the Caesars. There were a lot of Caesars. I don't know if each one has a biography. Maybe they do.
Well, there's bound to be at least some good collective ones.
Well, you'll get collection works like Lives of the Caesars, which had 12 of the Caesars together. I want to read Tom Holland's books. I don't even know who Tom Holland is.
Isn't that an actor? Wait, who's the author, Tom Holland?
I don't know.
I gotta look it up again. Always looking something up.
One for the Road by Harold Pinter is absolutely powerful and disturbing.
I haven't read that one, but I like Harold Pinter.
I don't think I've ever read anything by Harold Pinter.
Yeah, he's an English playwright.
I know.
Oh, okay. Now I'm having a whiteout trying to think of Harold Pinter play.
Tom Holland looks like history. an English historian.
Oh yeah, the birthday party I think is Harold Pinter's pretty
Harold
funny.
Pinter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to play.
Right.
Yeah. Pinter,
Yeah.
I think, only writes plays.
Yeah, I think he's on my list of people that didn't make it into this year, but I have like when I tried to make the list of things to put in the play project, I end up with like 50 people, so they're not
Right.
all in it because there's 12 months.
Any Sam Shepard coming up?
Not this year, but he narrowly missed the cut because I really like a couple of his plays. But I was trying to be more diverse. Like my original list, where I was thinking about people I had already read in the past, wasn't that diverse from going to school in the 80s, and I wanted to include more recent ones and more women and blah, blah, blah. So some of those people I said, well, we'll stretch it out and it'll be more than 1 year so that the whole roster can be have more new stuff in it.
Why read I should be more like that.
But yeah, I like True West and
Buried Child.
That's the one I saw in Seattle.
There's another one I liked of his. I can't think of it right now.
Buried Child.
I read that one. I did not see it.
It wasn't that. It has the word love in it, I think.
Well, hold on.
Buried Child, when you see it, there's that hair cutting scene. The character has to wear a wig because they cut a piece of his hair off every.
I have works of Buried Child, Curse of the Starving Class, The Tooth of Crime, La Turista, Tongue, Savage Love, and True West.
The Tooth of
none of those.
Yeah.
No, it's something else, but oh well.
I mean, this is only.
All for Love, I think is what it's called. Maybe.
All for Love.
Maybe.
Yeah, I like him.
I might be lying.
Marianne liked the 5.
Cool.
Constance is looking forward to Ripper Palooza. Just needs some Rex, maybe an occult detective book, maybe. I have a list of Ripper books that I made. I have not made a video on this event, but I have like more than I could possibly read. So eventually it will come out. We might try a group read or maybe not. I mean, there's so many Ripper books out there.
How many can you read before you get kind of saturated on it, though?
That's the thing is I'm going to try to read 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
There's an early one, which is the first Ripper novel. It was written by a woman, either late 19th century or early 20th century. I have it listed somewhere out there, potential books, but it's one of the first. And you have a lot of modern ones like this one. Lots of different theories on who Jack the Ripper was.
Yeah. I read a fiction. I don't know if the series kept going after I got tired of it, but it was a fiction series, kind of mystery thriller set in the 1800s. And it was Jack the Ripper, but they were kind of exploring like the beginning of forensics. Like one of the characters was trying to introduce fingerprinting to Scotland Yard, but then it got kind of wacky. It kind of got off the plot and weird because it turned into like this cat and mouse thing with one of the main characters and the Jack the Ripper character. Like it kind of got off the original project. I read maybe about 3 of the books, and now that's all I got. I can't remember who the author was or what the books were called. Maybe somebody out there read these books, but it started out good, and then it kind of jumped the shark about 3 books in.
The Mild Rumpus. Hello, Mild Rumpus.
Hey.
Gareth, I recently bought Titanium Noir. Looking forward to it.
That's one on my list too.
I did that for Gareth about some of the best books that I read. That's sort of a mixture of science fiction and crime noir.
Yeah.
And he has a sequel to that book coming out this year.
Okay, man, I need to get on the stick with Nick Harkaway.
I would definitely say, here's another one. It's like, yeah, Nick Harkaway's versus Gone Away World. That is still my favorite. Harkaway is continuing La Carré, and it was magnificent. Yeah, my wife just got that one out of the library. Of the John, he's redoing. He's continuing the George Smiley series, and apparently the one that she got is set between The Spy Who Came In from the Cold and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, chronologically in the storyline.
So is he just writing it in his own style, but doing those characters, or?
I honestly I don't know how he's doing it.
I don't think it'd work to try to imitate.
No, I don't. He could possibly do it. I mean, but no one's ever really able to imitate another author's style completely.
No, it's like those dragon tattoo continuations.
All right, I love the first 3 or so.
Yeah, and then I read maybe one of the continuation. It wasn't that the book was that awful, but it just didn't have the magic. So
no, and the problem was I read the first 3, and I really kind of liked them.
Oh yeah,
I did too.
But it's really not easy. Like, it's not easy to pick up someone else's story. Now, apparently, I guess the author left outlines of some of the other books he was intending to write, and they used that. But and this is just my personal preferences. There's so many other writers out there.
Right.
Why not just pick up a new series and saying it was good while it lasted, but it has to end?
Well, that's what I would do now. I mean, my reading habits have changed, but yeah. I agree with that too. Like, there it is. It was the 3 books. It's kind of like a good little complete story arc, and then now it's over.
I did. I do remember the end of the 3rd book. It was a good ending.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I mean, just because he had other outlines, we don't know that's he may have just moved on and written something totally different.
But at that point, it's just making money off something. It's just
right.
I agree.
So Hannah says, no, I haven't. She's talking about the Natchez Burning trilogy. No, I haven't. I might skip ahead to read his relatively new Southern Man, which is sort of part of the series, but works standalone. Yeah, the author Penn Cage. There's a main character named Penn Cage in this, and I read the first Penn Cage novel, which was like a first-person narrator. And this one, he's still there narrating first person, but he has other chapters that intersperse where he's not narrating, and you get a different perspective. And usually that does not work, but it's working in this book where you're getting his perspective. And so you say, okay, he does not know what's happening in these chapters, but the reader knows. So you're there with him, piecing it all together, even though you know what's happened.
It's kind of like the Columbo effect. The Columbo, Peter Falk. Everybody knew what happened except for him.
Well, I mean, that's the 2 different kinds of thrillers and mysteries, right? You got the one where he's the person solving it the whole time, or you have the other kind where you end up knowing, and then you're observing how they do it. Like, the answer. The kind of, what is the word for this? Well, like what you were just saying, we know more than we have to watch this person figure it out.
Yeah, the thing is, as a reader, the author is not showing you absolutely everything. There's still some things you don't know. He ends the chapter not fully explaining what happened afterwards. So you're still along with the main character trying to figure it out. You just know a little more information than he does.
Sometimes those are frustrating though, when you want to jump into the story and start telling people, would you all just communicate why didn't you call him right when you found that out? Why is he over here? Because you didn't. I was like, ah.
So I've been following the Gene Hackman situation. Have you guys at all?
Honestly, I don't.
No? Well, it'd
He
be a
died.
case for
The
Sherlock
movie,
Holmes.
I'm done.
It'd be a case for Sherlock Holmes because it's weird to figure out. And yeah, it seems to be like carbon monoxide poisoning, but and the longer they wait, they're not going to be able to find it in the body, like the toxins. It's have you been following it, Angelia?
Yeah. It's I don't know. I guess I'm morbidly curious because my brother and I have. I don't know. We're amateur morbid sleuths or something. Like first when they said, okay, they're dead, and we thought, oh, well, maybe it was like a suicide thing,
Right.
like
Murder suicide.
And then they said, well, now also there was a dog. Okay, maybe it was carbon monoxide. And then they're like, no, it doesn't make sense because they're all in different places, and
right.
some other dog is outside. The whole thing is just really bizarre.
I know he died, fell down in the mudroom, and then they're thinking, well, she went to get his blood pressure medicine and spilled the pill bottle, and so WTF?
Like, why is she dead?
Yeah, she fell and hit her head at the same time. What?
I mean, he's of an age where he could abruptly have a heart attack and fall down and die, but she was.
He walked with a cane.
And then what happened to the dog? So I'm very confused.
Sherlock Holmes could have figured this out without even going on the scene.
Yeah.
He walked with a cane, fell in the mudroom. She went.
Well, and how did nobody know for weeks? And then the door was open, or
decomposing. Yeah, but it's just.
Well, here's the thing. My wife and I don't have kids. So let's just suppose something similar. There's the gas burners on, and both of us suffocate the gas and die. Some of my wife's friends would wonder why she's not playing pickleball.
Yeah.
People on YouTube would go, why is Greg not releasing videos?
Yeah, what the hell?
But at what point would you say, Greg has not released a video in 2 weeks? And
who am I going to call?
And you call me and don't answer. Would you call the Virginia police and say, you better go check when would you do that?
I don't know, probably a week.
See, my brother and I have done this before because we've got one time. This was now it's just my stepfather's. My mother passed away in January, but they're kind of bad about sometimes they don't answer just because they don't feel like it or whatever. But something had happened. There'd been a big storm or like a hurricane, and then we knew, well, okay, maybe the power was out, but we kept calling to check on them and not getting through. And then there's another relative, and they couldn't get it. Like, all of us were talking to each other, and nobody could get them to answer the phone. And so my brother called the police. And so what they do a welfare check. And so they keep him on the phone while they go to the house and check. And they were there. They were just being butts and not answering. It didn't occur to them that we would all be wanting, evidence of life after this hurricane passed through their town.
Right.
Yeah, they just were not in the mood or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what I thought about with the Gene Hackman thing, though. Like, the families made a statement, and they do have kids and grandkids. So I'm thinking in a 2 or 3 week window, I would think somebody would start to notice that, grandma never answers the phone, doesn't answer any text, doesn't answer. Nobody can get either of them at all.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're busy with their own life. I mean,
I text my father every day, but I talk to him once a week. I call him. One time I called him, he fallen, hit his head. I'm going, you all right? You sure? And he was talking really weird. He goes, yeah, I take Angus for a walk. My dog, who's been dead 20 years, talking weird shit like that. So I said, okay, Dad, well, I'll talk to you later. You take care. I called the paramedics in Arizona, And they went out, checked on him, and sure enough, they took him to more observation. He was talking weird. This is a few years ago. He's fine now.
Right. But I mean, yeah, every family, you don't know. I mean, maybe it's normal for them to not talk for that length of time.
I mean,
but
the
I don't know.
The Portland police hooked me up right direct. They connected me with Arizona, and they got right on it.
I guess it depends on what your family. What is the length of time before something's not right?
Yeah, because some people may not communicate every week. You know.
Yeah.
I know, like my wife talks to her sister maybe once a month, something like that. You know, it's normal, and if something happened to her, she wouldn't know. Now they have other friends that are closer, so maybe they would know. But
what about your friend who, like, you watch each other's pets and that? Would he check on you?
No.
Not for
unless I told him to. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, after mine pulled the stunt where they didn't answer the phone, I figured out a neighbor, and I got the neighbor's number so that we could call and see. Okay, is the car in the driveway? Has it moved? You know, you kind of try to spy on them because they don't do any social media. Can't text. It's just landline phone in their house. Makes us nuts. Makes us crazy. And then the other side's a lot easier because my father-in-law, my mother-in-law passed away last year as well, and my father-in-law is 87 now, and he's living by himself for the first time in his life. So we talk to him a lot. I mean, Steve calls him every couple of days. They talk. So
yes, at that age, and you probably just to say I'm fine, you know.
Right.
Because the loneliness will be bad.
Yeah. Well, and he's an extrovert though. He goes out. He goes out to eat all the time. He drives all over, and he goes to church and all this stuff. So he's 82. So he's 87.
Yeah.
He's the oldest one of the bunch, but he's doing okay. But still, you know, we worry about him. But my sisters-in-law live closer than we do, so they can get over there pretty fast if he needed anything. But that's why you think about all this stuff when you hear one of these stories. But I knew a guy who, he had an elderly woman that lived next door to him, and she was dead for a couple of years in her house.
I've heard stories like that before.
Yes, it happened in Dallas, in a very nice neighborhood of Dallas. And he had seen the woman in the past, but he didn't know her or anything. So he felt kind of guilty because he thought, yeah, I just thought she moved and went to a retirement home or something. Yeah. And she was estranged from her family. And
I don't know. They have some really good retirement homes up here in Portland. It's like, man, I wouldn't mind going there.
Well, Alan, there's a story, I forgot, I think it was Chicago, but don't quote me. So a guy bought a condo in Chicago, upper end, and he put all his bills on auto pay.
Oh.
You know, I do that myself because, you know, why bother paying your electric bill every month? We need to have it drawn from the bank. And he was wealthy enough that he had a lot of money in there. And apparently he had a heart attack and died in his kitchen. So all his bills are being paid automatically. He did not have anyone close to notice that he was not coming out. His neighbors didn't really pay attention. And eventually the condo association noticed that his water bills were always zero.
Oh.
And they go, why is he not using water?
Oh, wow.
So eventually they went in, just, you know, to check what's happening. And there he was, dead on the floor, 3 years.
Wow.
You know. Now, why the neighbors didn't notice a smell? Or maybe they're...
Hermetic.
They must have had a yard service just keep coming and mowing the lawn, and the payment just went automatically.
Yeah.
Wow.
There might have been an apartment too. I don't have that level.
Yeah, maybe there wasn't a yard.
But still, the thing is my HOA does my yard.
Okay.
And I pay the HOA automatic withdrawal. So if I died and no one was paying attention, I could be here years. And
What about the mail being backed up? All the
that's
mail.
another question. I guess the mailman should notice.
Yeah.
Well, we won't have to worry about that with these old dads in my family because they still insist on using paper checks. They're we're not even going to get it. It's so far off of the book topic, but
Oh yeah. So let's
like that.
we've been way off the book. So what other events are people doing this year? Anything?
Faulkner in August.
Faulkner, no, that's a long time away. But yeah, I'm doing Faulkner in August.
Oh man.
I'm doing I've got some other year-long one. There's besides the global one I talked about, there's another one I'm doing called Books and Bocadillos, that's the name of Mari Andrea's channel, but it's also the name of her book club, and it's Latinx authors. So I've been doing that one. And what else am I doing?
June on the Range will do.
Yeah, well, June on the Range, I will not be obligated, but I might read Lonesome Dove.
Oh, it's a good one.
Because Marsha sent me a copy, and I've never read it, and everybody loves it. So, I mean, I've got to get to this one mammoth before I think about another mammoth. But so that's a maybe.
That reads so fast, it's not even like a mammoth.
Right. And then June, I also read a lot of books for Pride Month. But before that, we've got, I think, Mental Health May and People April. What else? Jane Austen July. Uh-oh.
What?
Okay, never mind. It froze for a second. It unfroze. I thought I was my Wi-Fi always dies late in the game. I don't know. There's something every month. It just goes on all year.
There's so many events. And
I'm working on an event for myself, but you're not going to hear about till September because here's the preview. The preview is so in October, when I have my birthday, I will be 59. So I am concocting a 60 before 60 project for myself, and I'll unleash it in September before it begins, so that anybody who wants to chime in on it or read a book with me or something. But it's still under development. It's research and development. But it's coming.
Cool.
Just like the Grim Reaper.
All right. Some other comments. I guess he's saying about Harkaway is trying to imitate his dad, just connecting the dots, which Le Carré laid out. I did not know Le Carré had notes for that, but who knows? It's why he called himself Harkaway and why his dad called himself Le Carré. It's neither of their own names. Yeah. Well, the problem is when you have a child coming up with a famous father author, like Stephen King's son writes under the name Joe Hill.
Right.
Which is like his middle name, his name is Joseph Hillstrom King or something like that. And he says, I don't want to be known as Stephen King's son. And I guess he went through and published a couple of short stories and got started in his career just the normal way people get started. Now, did Stephen King call up an editor and go, you should publish his story? I don't know. But he started off and people just sort of figured out that he was his son.
Well, he looks just like him for one thing.
He does.
That might be a big clue too. But
yeah.
But at least I admire that, is that he's not trying to piggyback on his father's fame.
Right.
And same as Harkaway is like, yeah, he could have piggybacked on his father's name and probably got off a lot faster. But he's also did not start off in the same genre as his father.
Right.
and he wanted to separate. And the thing is, Le Carre is actually not Le Carre. Harkaway is actually a really good author. Now, is it all biology and inherit all the good genes? The way like musical talent passes on, like you have a good musician father or mother, you can be a good musician.
Right.
And my wife and I were talking about that. Is like some people can have this really great idea for stories and this ability to get the words out on a page. And you have to have both of those pieces of talent. If you got great story ideas, but no ability to put words on a page, you're not going to be a writer. That's where I fall in. I wanted to be a writer, had great ideas, but trying to put words on a page just didn't happen with me.
Right. Well, there's also atmosphere. If you grow up in the household of an author, then you're in the household of a reader, probably. So there's a lot of you're steeped in it. So you're kind of set up for that to be. That's a valuable thing to read and write.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there could be some genetic predisposition.
Yeah, I think there is, like musical talent. You have this talent just to write. It is a skill and a talent, and some people are just better at it than others.
Right. I do think it's interesting, like, because I've read some Joe Hill too. I mean, he does write horror, so he even went into the same genre.
Yeah, I liked his Nosferatu. I've already read that with Sonia at, I forget her channel name, but
Enthusiastic Reader.
That's
it.
Sonia? Yeah, that's it. We read it right around Christmas a few years ago, so it was. We didn't know it was like a Christmas horror.
Oh yeah, Christmas Land. Yeah, man, that was creepy.
It's a fun book.
Charlie Makes, yes.
Riding the bike across the bridge.
Yeah. I really like his book. Now I wanted to say Firestarter, but that's Stephen King. What's it called? The Fireman by Joe Hill. It's more of a post-apocalyptic.
Kind of? Yeah, I read that one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
There's a funny story about the Fireman. Is that I had read Nosferatu, and I was not real impressed with it.
Okay.
It was okay. I liked it, okay, but just not huge. Yeah. And I decided I was sort of done with reading Joe Hill books. And I went to a used bookstore that I don't normally go to. It was in Washington State. And it just so happened like they had a wall of books and then the cash register and the owners on one side. So they couldn't see me on the other side of the book looking at all these books. And he started talking to someone else in the store about Joe Hill and how he was really generous and like he sent them a book or two, and they started talking about how much they liked the book The Fireman. And then I went home and I was looking on my website, and The Fireman was on sale on Kindle for $1.99 that day, like a flash sale. And I said, okay, that has to be something. I just bought it for $1.99 and read it. And I know the problem is Joe Hill has some of the same writing faults that I think Stephen King has.
Idiosyncrasies.
They fall into that same stylistic trap when something unusual is going on. They don't let it be just a little unusual. They have to.
It's not subtle.
They have to bring out the full sledgehammer and go ape crap, and everything under the sun is happening. Where sometimes you just need a little bit of difference from the real world. They don't have that watchmaker's tool, as I like to say. They use sledgehammers.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And then it kind of, at some point, if someone does that too much, and I guess this is why I'm not like a huge horror fan, because this happens so much that it kind of numbs you to the whole thing when it's just a nonstop just parade of crazy stuff happening. And
right.
it's not it. I'd rather read something more subtle and creepy and insidious than
I know.
just a crazy extravaganza of terror.
I forgot the book. It was some book set in Alaska, the wilds of Alaska. The backwoods where there's no civilization for 100 miles or something like that. And there's a group of people, and there was this monster out there, right?
Yeah.
The only problem is that the people he put for his characters were military soldiers on a training mission, which means they have very high caliber weapons.
Yes.
So what happens when you meet a monster in a high caliber weapon? You blow it to smithereens. So he had to give his monster this ability to heal super fast. You could fill him full of machine gun bullets and he'd run off for an hour and be perfectly fine the next hour. And I'm going, okay, why not put a group of scientists out there who don't have machine guns? So
they have to think.
They have to think. And this one is like, how much punishment can this monster take from these military weapons and still be fine? And I'm going like, it just sort of like ruined it. But the thing is, if you were making a movie of this book, wouldn't it be fun to see lots of machine gun fire?
Well, not to me, but apparently that's but some people never get enough of it when they in a movie.
I know. All right. How about mail piling up? Yes, we're always talking. We mentioned that. Constance says, perhaps we noticed your. Thank you, Constance. Mild Rumpus, Lonesome Dove. I'm also thinking about Lonesome Dove for June on the Range.
Yeah, I would. I've read that probably.
I might do the audiobook this year.
Oh wow, that'd be a long one.
About 40 hours.
I've seen the movie or the miniseries. I think I've seen it twice, but never read the book.
Yeah. Then the sequel, Streets of Laredo, is good too. Not as good, of course. But...
Yeah. All right. So I'm reading Carpentina by Alexis Wright with Life on the Book Club. All right. Don't know that one, but okay. The best King film I was the one he doesn't like. Oh, he probably talking about The Shining.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't like that one.
No.
Well, I understand why Stephen King does not like that movie. Because Jack Nicholson was nutsy Fagin from the first scene of the movie. You knew he was absolutely batshit crazy.
Right.
And in the book, Stephen King said this is a man struggling with inner demons and losing to them in the end.
He's an alcoholic who's going through like withdrawal.
Right. And that's what was important for him in the story, is that struggle. And there's a great scene in that book that would not really work that well in the movie. I have not seen the movie since I saw it on opening night in the 80s, so I don't remember that much. But in the book, there's this great scene where he's trapped in a meat locker or something, or some sort of closet.
Yeah, refrigerator
or something.
I don't remember. It's been too long.
But he's I won't spoil it, but it's the scene where his mind snaps.
In the book?
In the book.
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking the barroom scenes is mine.
No, Alan, this is where he's talking. He's locked in the closet. His wife has locked him in.
Oh.
And he's banging on the door, and he can't get out. I can't get out. And he's talking to the ghosts.
Oh.
And his mind snaps. And for once, something mildly supernatural happens. Or maybe not. And I won't.
I like that. I like where you don't really know. it's up to
It is.
interpretation.
I mean, it could be supernatural, or just because I almost point, he could have been just a side effect of what he was doing earlier. And that's what really worked. And that's what was completely missed from the movie. That whole character arc. That's why probably why Stephen King hates the book.
Yeah. Well, the movie just went for being a kind of a high-end horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was kind of like the novel we buddy read, Beautyland. It was, you kind of wanted to believe, but how could she be in it? How could she really?
But there's just enough clues in there that made you think, well, it could be.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny, I think we talked about this, but I read an interview with the author where they asked her, did you intend for Adina to be an alien, or is she just a person, an unusual person? And she said, that's for the reader to decide, but I think she's an alien. Like, she didn't write it like this is the definitive answer. She wrote it like, here's this person, and when I read it, this is what I think, but you don't have to think that.
Yeah, I think that's a much better way.
Yeah, so even the author wants you to find your own way through the book.
Yeah, so far that's really one of my favorite books of the year so far. That new to me read.
Right. It was really cool, and we didn't even like, we both took away really liking it, even though we felt differently about the ending.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't say anything about that because people haven't read it.
Yeah. Okay.
The ending is one of these things where, and I love books like that too, where people have 10 different feelings about the ending.
Yep. I like that much better too. Okay.
And I even change my mind sometimes. Like, at books like that, once I talk to other people and then I think about it again, I think, well, wait a minute. Maybe I didn't see everything there was to see about this.
Mm-hmm.
So Constance is talking to Mild Rumpus about a production of True West. Tell Angelia it's a Fool for Live.
Fool for Love. That's it.
Fool for Love. Okay.
Fool for Love.
Oh, there it is. There, she corrected herself down below. Fool for Love.
Thank you. Thank you, Constance.
All right.
That's the one I was showing you. Fool for Love and True West are the ones I'm familiar with, and I wanted to put one of them in the project. And so, I don't know. Signs are suggesting the project will be longer than 1 year because there's too many plays I want to talk about.
Yeah, good.
King can't write endings for shit, and I go to AA. He did perfect in Pet Sematary. He got that ending pitch perfect.
Yeah. Another one of my favorites from him.
Marcia says, good night, folks. Getting time for bed here on the East. Well, Marcia, it's 2 hours and 7 minutes. We've been on here a long time.
Go ahead, staying power. Bye, Marcia.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Marcia. I think we probably should be wrapping up this show pretty soon.
I'm getting hungry.
Yep. It's Sinfil likes The Shining. Barry Lyndon is both a time travel piece and a tragedy.
Barry Lyndon.
I haven't read it. Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon, wasn't that based on a John Fowles book?
I don't know.
I don't know. I like time travel, though.
If you like time travel, there's a King's book, 11.
11. Yeah.
22. I don't like his time travel story. Mostly because he overthought time travel too much.
That's another one where I saw the show, but I haven't read the book.
Yeah, I love this book.
11/22/63.
Shocker.
Yeah. I almost picked that up at a library book sale, and then I didn't because I had like a shame montage of other mammoths that I already own that I hadn't read yet, so I didn't get it.
Well, there's time.
Yeah. Well, I figure the library must surely has it. So if it doesn't drift through again, I'll just borrow it. If I ever really am going to read it. I know Stephen, my husband, read it and liked it. And then we saw the show, but so we'll see. I've got other mammoths in line. They got to take a ticket.
Sure.
Well, Constance says, thank you for all the great company. Well, thank you for dropping in, Constance.
Thanks for coming, Constance.
Crack me up. And Gareth says 11/22/63 is my fave king, just next to Salem's Lot and Needful Things. All right, Angelia, we've been here 2 hours and 10 minutes. My voice is honestly at it. Any last words from any of you or anyone in the comment?
Well, thank you so much for having me on again. I've had a great time.
We appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, time flies.
Very fun, and glad everybody who stopped by.
Yes.
Great conversations.
It was great. And Angelia, we'll get you back on a fourth sometime if you're willing.
Sometime absolutely. So and then when you hit your 5 times, you get the jacket, right? The 5 Timers Club.
Saturday Night Live
jacket.
That's from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live. When you host 5 times, you're in the 5 Timers Club, and they give you like this velvet jacket.
That comes from the Masters at golf, but in Augusta, Georgia.
I have to work on an apparel store for my channel.
We should get a T-shirt for 5 Timers.
Merch, yeah, we need merch.
Merch. I have not bothered trying to get merch for my channel.
Yeah,
but maybe.
You never know.
All right, Angelia.
All right, thanks. It's been great.
Thank you, everyone in the chat room, for hanging out with us on a Monday night. And Alan, who's our guest for next? Hold on, let me pop up my calendar. And it's Hannah next week, and then Pat, and then we're off, and then Jim from Mystery and Mayhem fills out March.
That's a great lineup.
It is. Well, it's all Alan. He does the lineup for the most part. I just host the event. All right, everyone.
I try to get him to. I always ask if he wants anybody.
Alan, it's like this is what you do. You get the guests on, and I host it, and then we all talk.
I enjoy it.
Yep. All right, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.